We're on episode 1 of season 4 of Black Mirror, USS Callister, which was the first episode of Black Mirror that I ever saw. That, as you can see here, is a parody of Star Trek. I watched the first 10 minutes, I turned it off and said, well, I guess this Black Mirror show just isn't for me. I'm gonna go watch Narcos. But this was a mistake. This episode came out on December 29th of 2017. I watched it in 2018, first 10 minutes, turned it off, went to watch something else, and left a sour taste in my mouth because the way this episode opens, even though it gets much better as it goes on, so stick with it, but man, does it open in just a goofy parody of Star Trek that I still think is a terrible way to open the episode. And looking through some of the reviews, a lot of people bring this up. I myself have seen very little Star Trek. I don't even know if I would like it or not like it. One day I'm gonna do a deep dive into it, but I guess you could say I'm neutral on Star Trek. However, this opening goofy parody is not very funny. It's also not indicative of what the rest of the episode is going to be like, because after it does this parody, it goes right into the real world, where our main character and villain, Daly, is a programmer at the gaming company, Callister Incorporated. And we see that Daly, who in the beginning was portrayed as the commander of this space fleet, he was the captain and everyone was bowing down to him, really is just a programmer. He has some amount of notoriety as he established this gaming company, but you can see his hair is much more thinning than it was in this parody, and he does not have control of the room. He's awkward. He doesn't know how to interact with people, especially women. And this is how he lives out his fantasies going into this game world. This is similar to an episode we reviewed earlier, Playtest, where a guy goes into a virtual reality simulation of survival horror, but here we get Star Trek. Why they decided to parody Star Trek rather than just any other type of space adventure, I have no idea, because it really could have been anything. It still would have made sense in this story. You see Mr. Daly, one of the co-creators of Callister Incorporated, and we learn that he's a really evil guy. He collects DNA samples from his co-workers that he doesn't like. Things like gum, or someone's saliva, coffee cup, later on, a little kid's lollipop. And he uses them to create digital clones inside of a private server of this Infinity game where he gets to act out as the leader of this space fleet. And these clones have to do absolutely everything he says since he has powers within this game. Now, this episode is long enough, not reaching the hour-and-a-half length of Hated in the Nation, but still at a hefty hour and 16 minutes. They don't dive in too much about Mr. Daly and why exactly he's doing this, outside of the fact that he's an egomaniac. So really, at the beginning we saw Daly acting out his fantasies. What we thought was just a goofy parody of Star Trek was him in this digital world, forcing everyone to play along with his game where he pretends to be this great commander, exploring foreign galaxies and slaying monsters. We're then introduced to the second main character, Nanette Cole, someone we can actually root for. She joins this virtual reality company and is actually a big fan of Daly and tells him how much she appreciates him and his work. It also would have been nice to see what other worlds that this virtual reality company can create. Since we only see the Space Fleet one, I guess we're led to assume there's other variations of this game. But for all intents and purposes, we're just going to see the Star Trek one. And he creates a clone of her as well and throws her into this game world, and it's really through her eyes that we get to see this story unfold, since all these other characters have been in this game world for many, many years and have just got used to being tortured by Daly. But Nanette, she's new, so she has to learn the ropes. She learns in this game world there's no genitalia, because I guess he's trying to keep it PG rated, just like a TV series would be. She has to do everything Daly says. He prefers to not kill them, but instead torture them. So he demonstrates this on Nanette for the first time by making her face completely be enveloped into this mask where she can't breathe. But since she doesn't die, she just gets tortured. She can't breathe, she can't see anything, and if he wants to, she could just live the rest of her life in this game world, not being able to breathe or see anything. He prefers that besides actually killing them off, though it seems like he has the ability to do that as well. And also, we don't learn this till halfway through, there's a version of herself, in this case Nanette, in the game world that we see, and there's also a version of her on the outside where she's just going about her daily activities, going to work for this game company, who's completely unaware that her other clone is trapped in the game world. There's a particularly funny scene where Game World Nanette tries to contact outside regular world Nanette and try to get her free from this game by sending her a message on her phone. And what does real world Nanette do? Well, she just goes to her boss, who's Daly, and shows him the message. So real world Nanette ends up screwing over Game World Nanette. It's actually not that confusing. They don't get too convoluted here. There's only a couple characters. And while reading some reviews, people are pointing out plot holes. I don't really feel like this episode has plot holes because it's dealing with a science fiction game that doesn't even exist and where he can change the rules at any moment. So it's almost impossible to have a plot hole. Why can they only send one message? Oh, well, he catches them and then shuts that down. How come he can exit the game and they can't? Well, he's in control of this game. He puts a little thing on the side of his head and can just say, exit game, and he's able to leave. It's such an out there technology that they're able to just invent anything they want. Similar to Star Trek. It's almost like if you have a character who's an all-knowing god who can do anything he wants, can there really be a plot hole? Because, I mean, he can just make things appear. He can make a lightsaber appear. He can go into warp speed. He can never die. He could make monsters appear. He can just do whatever he wants. So this episode does get better and darker as it goes along, but it does have some problems with trying to figure out what type of tone it wants. While I prefer the darker tone it goes into, I can see some people being unsatisfied who just want a PG-rated Star Trek adventure. They also do the corny thing where they say the F word, and that's supposed to be funny because they're in the Star Trek universe that's supposed to be PG-rated. Like, they do this all the time throughout the episode. It was maybe funny the first time, but not the 30th time you hear this. We get it. It's like a PG-rated television show, and then sometimes you say shit or balls. I also think the character of Daly is a bit too evil because you don't get any character development with him in the beginning of why he's doing this, of really what he's like in his regular everyday life. You see he's a little awkward around people, but you only get that for a few minutes. The things he does in this game world just seem too awful. Tortured one of the guys there by having a clone of his kid and just killing him by throwing him out of an airlock. Why? Just because he's evil, I guess. And you would think if he's supposed to be recreating this PG-rated Star Trek universe, him just killing people randomly doesn't really fit in with that. You would think he would restrain himself. And that's another thing. They keep going back and forth between a R-rated episode to a PG-rated episode to an R-rated one. He's supposed to be acting out his fantasies. He would be subscribing to the TV standards, which he sometimes does do. Like, he's on this planet with Nanette, and she wants to go swimming, and he doesn't really want to do that because he's like, we can't do anything sexual, we have to slay the beast. And then they sort of just get sucked into it. And he also removed their genitals so none of them can have sex. And he can't have sex with them, but he can kill them, but he can torture them and throw their kids out of airlocks. I think it would be better if they stuck to the standards of, this is a Star Trek episode from the 60s, so there's not going to be cursing, there's not going to be sex. And Daly actually tried to stick to that, rather than having this back and forth of when he's in the fantasy world, he sometimes obeys those rules and sometimes just doesn't. I mean, there is one funny line where Nanette looks down and sees she doesn't have a vagina anymore and says something along the lines of, taking away my pussy is a step too far. Maybe it was all for that one joke. The main character Nanette is played by Christine Milatowi, who's just your average girl. But once she gets put into this game world, she does get a lot more spunk to her and is able to finally bust them out. She was, of course, in this episode, and she was also in the sequel, USS Callister Into Infinity. Episode 6 of Season 4 of Black Mirror. This is the only episode that got a sequel. We'll see her again in covering Season 7. She was in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street as Teresa, and Catherine in The Sopranos. And she's the best actor in this episode, being able to switch between feminine 1 second and then G.I. Jane the next. Robert Daly's played by Jesse Plemons, who actually was married to Kirsten Dunst, and he was born in 1988. Yeah, that means he was around 27 to 28 years old in this episode, and he looks like he's like 50. I thought for sure this was some super old guy. He was in The Irishman as Chuckle O'Brien, Killers of the Flower Moon as Tom, and we even saw him in our coverage of Fear itself. Episode 1, The Sacrifice is Lemon. But I just don't like his character here. We only actually see him show some emotions right towards the very end, where he inevitably gets trapped in this game. But he's just one note. Every other part of this episode, I guess they're trying to portray him as like a normal guy, like he's unassuming in his regular life, that you think that he would be trying to torture people in this virtual reality game. But the thing about Jesse Plemons is he just has a very unique look to him, doesn't he? He's like a Steve Buscemi type actor. It's hard for Steve Buscemi to play a good guy because he looks so crazy. Jesse looks that way as well. He usually plays some type of bad guy, which he does here as well, but he's supposed to be portrayed as a normal guy who then is only bad in the virtual reality world, and I just don't think it works. He's not able to convey the type of emotions to make him truly scary. His actions are evil, but he's never really able to sell it like someone Steve Buscemi could do. And I think this is an easy miscast. The episode seems like it's written for someone like Zachary Quinto, who I've been watching in my coverage of American Horror Story, and he is able to change between quiet, normal guy to flamboyant gay man to psychotic killer. And Jesse Plemons just can't quite do that. I still think this is a good episode. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It gets better as it goes on, but it also means a lot of people are going to drop it within the first 15 minutes. And I do think it has a tone problem. The jokes aren't really funny enough for it to be a comedy episode. And what he's actually doing to these people is horrendous. So it's sometimes hard to laugh at it anyways. You do get a nice ending where they're able to escape, which I'm glad they did. Fits the theme of this episode. Feels more like a Star Trek television series with the good guys winning. And the science fiction is very science fiction-y. I think I just made up that word. But we get the obligatory, okay, we're hacking into the mainframe and we're going into the wormhole and we're going to shut down the game, but we can escape through the wormhole because it's about to update. You just go, sure, I guess that would work. Next up is episode 2 of season 4, Archangel, a drama story. And a much lower budget because they used too much CGI in USS Callister. And check out our playlist for the other series we've covered. We started doing live streaming every single episode of Monsters, so you can check those out. We're also doing Twilight Zone, Are You Afraid of the Dark, American Horror Story, and Mystery Science Theater 3000. Thank you.